Mabrika, everybody, and welcome back to the Taino Heritage Camp series on TEKINAs, our Enlightened Teachers of Jamaica. So I am Jenna, and next to me is Beike Florence, the founder of the Taino Heritage Park.
Mabrika, everyone.
So Mabrika is the Taino word for welcome. So welcome, everyone. And today we are joined by Rachael McDonald, who is the founder of her school, Funcionades.
Fundaciones.
There we go. Thank you. Always a teacher, which is fantastic. Teach me again, just one more time.
Fundaciones. It's Spanish for foundation. So
Fundaciones.
Fundaciones. Sí.
Fundaciones. Okay, great.
And when you're in Jamaica, we'll say Fundaciones.
Well, they don't say fundaciones. Yes, they call it anything.
Yeah, Fundaciones.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
Yes. They know the school.
That's right.
They know the school. So it's a Spanish and English-based school. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
It's really interesting. So Fundaciones, as the name implies, it has the word fun in there. So everything we try to do entails a little bit of or a lot of fun. So our hashtag and the way you can find us on the internet or on social media platforms is by looking for Learn the Fun. That's our name on social media. And we started in 2008 just offering a variety of programs, services, and activities for children and for families. And it sort of morphed into a day school, or rather a preschool. So we wanted it to be different. So we made it a bilingual early childhood program that expanded from preschool into pre-K, into K, into primary. And it's really had no boundaries so far. So we are offerers of a day school and just tons of stuff for persons and families to do outside of and after school.
What's the ceiling for your age group?
We go, in our day school, we are a pre to 6 school. So we go from preschool to grade 6. And in our after school programs, we go right up to age 18. So we have CXC programs, IB students that we work with outside of school and after school.
Okay. It sounds very similar to the foundation that we have at the Taino Heritage Camp, where it's like we focus on school children, but then everybody wants to learn about their Taino heritage. There's a lot of people that don't necessarily know about the Taino heritage. So we've opened up the programs in order to be able to invite everybody in, to be interactive and to have access to that information, which is incredibly important.
And that's why during the corona, that's what we're actually doing. We're sort of expanding ourselves out there, not just to the schools, but to anyone that's interested in knowing about the heritage of Jamaica.
Yeah. So with that, like, how do you guys deal with the closing of the schools and the children, the parents accessing the services that Fundaciones provides?
Well, you know, there are about 770,000 children island-wide that have been affected by school closure. It may be a little bit less, but I know that there's that amount of children in Jamaica. Of course, at the early childhood level, it's really difficult because we rely on connections. We rely on that human touch, that hug, that embrace.
Right.
So it's been really, really challenging. But, you know, as my mom reminded me, sometimes you have to bend and flex like bamboo. So we need to be able to just switch it up and navigate and just allow ourselves to just go with the flow. And that's sort of what we had to do. At the early childhood level, what we do is we send activities out on a weekly basis for families to do together. And we try to connect each week a couple times via Kiddie Connect. So we do video conferencing. But it's really difficult because at the early childhood level, we don't really believe in too much screen time, and you don't want to force screen time on very young children, 18-month-olds and 3-year-olds. I personally don't believe that screen time is essential and should be forced on children. And then at the primary level, we are doing online and remote learning. So we do have our team of teachers who meet right throughout the day, and they're guiding students into doing activities. The activities take place generally at the same time. So what you have is at the early childhood level, the activities are taking place in their time. And at the primary level, we're kind of guiding families to do these activities in a set and structured time. So it's been challenging. Navigating technology, of course, in a third world country, has its set of glitches. So, you know, there's no internet today. Oh my goodness, we have a power cut.
It's funny, you seem to be covering all the
all the questions all at once.
We were going to ask you, because we were going to say, how do you actually get to the these
the internet's not always available in the household, and how do you overcome that? Yeah.
I mean, that's just something that we just have to work through. So our children know when our families know when there's a power cut, and our team members know when there's a power cut. You log back on whenever you can and you catch up. The work will be sent, it will be shared, it's always there. You access it as you can. But there's literally nothing that we can do in a situation like that.
And what's the returns? Do you get the children actually taking part?
We do,
not as efficiently, obviously, as if they were in class, but what would you say the percentage of students that you get that actually log on, do the work, return back, get feedback, etc.?
Well, thankfully, in our primary program, we do have quite a number of children participating. We don't have 100% capacity, but we do have quite a number of children participating, and for that, we're grateful.
Percentage, what sort of percentage?
Well, I didn't come prepared to talk percentage.
Okay, all right, okay, yeah, that's okay.
More than one school, so I mean, I can get stats, but I'm gonna have to do a little math and run through some figures right now.
They're not exact. I'm not asking for exact percentage.
So it's more than one school that I own and operate, so it's a little bit tricky, and we're talking primary levels and we're talking early childhood levels, and it's going to get very technical. But I do believe that we have quite a number of children who are able to log on, but I want you to remember that online learning is not ideal for every type of learning.
It's not 100%.
Right? So it's not something that we can force persons to do. It's not something that we can tell families that this is something that they have to do. We are flexible, and we are mindful of the fact that a lot of our children with varied needs will not respond positively to this type of learning environment.
That's right. Yeah. So basically, we just wanted to find out, just as cross references to what we're doing at the Taino Heritage Park as well. Do you see? So I wanted to see how, because they are your students, how much of them would actually adhere to certain.
So we have been. I mean,
yeah. And as we have at the park, because we're open. It's if you want to. But in a way, schoolwork is schoolwork. So I wanted to see the difference. That's why.
So thankfully, it's a partnership, and all stakeholders are involved in children's learning. So our families know very well what the day looks like, what the schedule looks like. They are their accountability partners. You know, the people at home help children to maintain that accountability. They know that at 8 o'clock to 8:15, the children can talk amongst themselves via Skype. They can have their own conversation. They know at 8:15 they're going to join, and they're going to read the newspaper articles from 8:15 to 8:30. So, but of course, we're constantly reminding them of what is coming next. So there's a lot of accountability, and there's a lot of need to keep reminding, because, you know, with children, they too will say, oh, the internet is not working, and we're going to just move away for a little bit. So we're thankful enough to be able to work through the challenges. I mean, every day you learn things differently. So, you know, what you expect in a classroom, you don't quite expect online. You're faced with a different set of learning challenges. You know what I mean? So you find that, again, as I mentioned earlier, there is this great need for us to be flexible and quite adaptive to 100%. This.
Mm-hmm. So coming back to that point where you said it's flexible and adaptable, it's been said a lot.
We have to be flexible and adaptable.
It's been said a lot that the schools are gonna not go back to its original state. How do you feel about that?
Well, just so you know, schools are scheduled to reopen in September 2020.
Yes, I know that. Yeah.
Stand guided by the decisions of our policymakers and our government. I don't foresee returning to school to be the same. We have now access technology as a major learning tool, and I anticipate there will be a greater reliance on technology moving forward. I know physical distancing and social distancing will play a role in how things play out, and I'm just not quite sure exactly how things will work out for us as a very touchy-feely cultural set of people. You know, we have to hug, we have to smile, we have to touch. We're just naturally inclined to do things like that. But I do know that moving forward, we will be having a great emphasis, or a greater emphasis, on things like social emotional learning. I think that should be at the forefront as we move forward. And just understanding that our children have been needing to connect. And even as we move to connect again, you know, we are being forced to maintain connections in different ways right now. So
right. Do you find it's helped you to kind of see the individual personalities of the children more? It's kind of put a microscope on it and said, okay, cool, this child learns so much more different from that one.
I don't think we have been able to get that information. We've had that information from before. You know, our curriculum, the National Standards curriculum and the early childhood curriculum, really encourage reflection on the normal circumstances, and it's very child-centered and play-based, especially at the early childhood level. So through those curricula, we are really able to tap into children's personalities. We're able to see where children's interests lie, and also we're able to sort of ride on that interest and create programs and activities centered around that. So I think this has been, it has just sort of concretized what we know, but it hasn't really opened our eyes to anything new per se.
Right.
So because at the at the Taino Heritage Park, you know that we actually have interactive learning, and I know your school actually attended, and the feedback was good. So with what we have found is, with the corona, and where, as you say, technology, it's opened us up to a wider scope in that sense, where we go further afield. So those schools and teachers that probably have, you know, would come on to your system that you have for your school, they would see that, like you're interviewing with us now, that's even opened it wider, where they can actually see that the Taino Heritage is a place of activity learning for that particular section of the curriculum.
Set, go!
I love that you have those spaces where they're child-led, where the children can actually like speak to one another, so they're not losing out on that school community feeling. That was actually one of our questions, and I wanted to address, in terms of how do you maintain that school community feel, the exposure of like going on field trips and stuff like this. Like, these are things that have been taken out of their schedule for like about a term now, like a term.
Simply because of the social distancing.
So how do you address that? Like,
so our children were using technological tools before. They would connect with each other outside of school on weekends. We have had students who have moved away, back to their countries, back to their homelands. And our children have been using things like Skype from before the coronavirus. So they have been able to connect and reconnect and maintain connectivity with their classmates, with their friends. And that was one of the reasons why we chose that particular platform, because most of our primary age children were already using it. They were very familiar with it, and for the most part the transition would not be so detrimental or so scary for them to navigate. And we had a lot to think about in terms of what that transition would be like, how it would feel. You know, whilst parents may have been iffy, our children, and for the most part the majority of them, were already on these devices and connecting otherwise. As it pertains to field trips, we are still able to connect and share what is taking place right around the world, thanks to technology. Our children, as you would know, have done many field trips. So thankfully, our school calendar actually has the majority of field trips taking place in semesters 1 and 2, while semester 3, which is this semester, would be the one where they're doing their PEP exams, they're doing grade 4 and 5 and finishing up grade 6 PEP exams. So we always tended to kind of make them stay in school for a little bit longer just to maintain that exam type focus. So thankfully it has not been too detrimental,
right.
you know, and with websites and interactive connectivity and platforms like yours, we are still able to share what we need to share and what we can share with our children.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I'm just reading some of the articles in the newspaper, just to be abreast, which isn't necessarily as it is, but this is media coming through, where they've said that the teachers at present are a little bit dissatisfied with the way the students are behaving on the actual internet, where they are unexpected kind of
sharing of images.
Sharing of images.
Well, you're probably referring to a little bit of the older students. That's
right. Yeah, because you do. Yeah. They are referring to that, but I'm just sort of like putting it to you. Yeah.
As an educator.
As an educator, where they're saying that this is coming through. Having discussed this with other teachers, they felt that those children were doing that anyway, and it's
the culture has transferred over to and now the teachers are becoming aware of it.
Well, the teachers were aware of it before.
You know, children are going to be children, right? And as I mentioned to you earlier, as we switch things up and as we put them in different situations, we're going to see things that we never saw before. And again, this is another opportunity for us to bend and flex as we need to. So children need to be guided into proper social media use. Children need to be guided into what's appropriate and what's not.
100%. I agree with that. 100. The guidance. I like that word. Guidance.
And I also believe that it's unfair for families to necessarily expect that teachers are going to take children through every single solitary possible scenario. Whilst we as educators may be more aware of what is happening, you know, we have something called netiquette, you know, proper etiquette on the net. And, you know, parents brought it to my attention and said, here, share this article. I'm going to share this in the group chat with other parents. And I am so very grateful, because we cannot do every single solitary thing, but we also know that it's a very overwhelming time. Times are uncertain, they're challenging. And, you know, what we need to remember in times like this and just moving forward is the importance of synergy, the importance of collaboration, the importance of trying to maintain communication as best as possible amongst all stakeholders. I know parents are used to coming in the morning and seeing the teacher face to face and having a conversation. That has had to change, because now the times in which the parents could possibly meet the teacher don't correlate, because they're also working from home, and it's just a little bit crazy. But what we crave at this time is patience and understanding that children are going to be tempted, children are going to do different things. And again, as I mentioned earlier, you know, placing a greater emphasis on what we call the social emotional learning. So why are children doing this? Is there a need that they're feeling void? Is there something that they want to feel fulfilled about? And I believe that, you know, we have to think in terms of everything. You know, we have to take each situation as it comes to us. We have to try and be as mindful as we can and just focus on what comes to us as it comes to us. You know what I mean? It's very overwhelming to think of everything and to try and address everything right then and there.
Yeah, everyone has had to learn a lot of crisis management in this time. Like
Definitely.
our leaders and educators have had to really apply themselves to make sure that that there's still some kind of like foundational space, especially in the education system.
Definitely.
Well, you know, the teachers are bringing up teachers of tomorrow. So the teachers of today are bringing up teachers of tomorrow. So it's important to actually be able to put across, even, and things are changing so desperately. I, you know, sort of getting in touch with a lot of the teens, because we have teenagers that we deal with online now rather than coming to the park. and they're saying that with it, by the time they get to an age where they can actually make decisions, the decisions won't be there for them to be made. It'll all be like having sort of things put into their, chips put into their bodies. The internet would be telling them exactly when to wake up, when to go, when to put on, when to get to school, when not, when to start learning, when to put your learn down, and it will be monitored through videos, and their movements will be monitored. So that's when what I'm actually saying, that schools as we have it, is there's going to be a radical change in the way we put across our knowledge to the future. So that's basically, I'm not saying that it's going to be a massive change, but there will be change.
There has to be change. Yeah. And there's nothing as constant as change.
Right.
One thing you can rely on in life is that things are going to change.
Absolutely. And
but people like myself, it's going to be hard at sort of my age, where you have where technology actually takes over totally.
Well, technology has been taking over for a while. And
yes, but literally, yeah. It's been taken over, but like say in developing countries like ours, it's a little bit, it's not been monitored in a fashion that is necessary for the young people, because a lot of the parents have no idea as to how to actually monitor what their children are watching.
Well, I don't even know if they don't know how. They just probably don't have time. Parents are bombarded.
Yes.
And it's, like I said, it's unfair to expect one particular stakeholder to have all the answers and to be able to do everything.
100%.
It takes a village.
It really does. It really does. So is there any questions that you want to ask us, Rachel?
No, I was coming prepared for you to ask me all the questions.
And you're very prepared. You've got all the answers.
I'm just a chatter, that's all.
I beg your pardon?
I'm just a chatter.
No, that's excellent.
Not at all.
You're perfect. I was just
information provider.
I was just thinking while you were talking how you're brilliant for interviews, because you're coherent and constant, and that's all you need. So people, you're going to be asked a lot to do a lot of talking.
It's the language. It's a Spanish in me. It's a Spanish.
Are you Spanish?
I'm not really Spanish, but sometimes I think I was Spanish in a past life, because I don't remember learning Spanish. I just remember remembering it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
we are very spiritually connected to our ancestors, so you probably have a little Spanish in there somewhere.
Yeah, you probably have.
Yeah.
You look.
The Spanish were here for hundreds of years, 100 years.
Yes, they were.
It's a great possibility.
Oh, we don't even know that maybe the Tainos, you might have Taino. I don't know if you have DNA testing, but the Taino might be a very talkative setup. Well, I wouldn't call you talkative. I'd say informative.
Well, that's not what they said in prep school.
And you see, look how it's assisting you in your life now.
Teachers aren't always right.
High school, oh my goodness, maybe the first 18 years of my life, I was just told that I talk too much.
You see, and I was told I read too much. So you see,
oh my goodness.
I was told I laugh too much.
Well, those are good problems.
They're all good.
They're all good problems.
Yours included. That's all good. They're all good assets.
Yes.
It's all about the perspective shift as well, which is incredibly important in the Taino movement as well. That perspective shift. We have to think of things in a more positive way, opening up into the future.
Definitely. I think if we did that a little bit more, and that's something that we're trying to do a little bit more at our school. We've introduced mindfulness for the past 2 years, And I think initially people were very hesitant. They're like, what kind of crazy cuckoo voodoo madness is this that Rachael McDonald wants to do?
Gratitude. It's gratitude.
We have found such a greater appreciation by our stakeholders, our children, our teachers. And I mean, just connecting and just sitting sometimes just still and just breathing. Things that we take for granted, just allowing yourself to just feel the breeze, to hear the sounds, to smell the scents, and to just be. It is absolutely critical. And I find that as we get more connected, literally, using technology, the need for us to be more mindful and to connect with nature and to connect with that which is even more critical, We have a lot of anxious kids right now. So quite a number of our children are anxious and are suffering from anxiety because they're unable to see their friends. They're not engaging in the routines that they were once very used to and became accustomed to. And because of that, this uncertainty is causing quite a buildup of anxiety. So one of the things that we've been doing with our kids or encouraging our kids to do is to tap through the anxiety. When you tap on these meridian points in your body, it sort of allows this sort of reset and rebalance. And it has helped big time. It's really interesting. You should check it out.
No, well, I know that part. I don't need to check that. I already do that. That's why.
It's wonderful that you're incorporating it.
That's why I sat up. I was very pleased to hear that you're actually putting it across the school. Yeah, that you're actually putting it to your students.
At the early
and I applaud you for that. That's brilliant.
We tap and we set our intention. So we literally say, I intend to have a good day. I intend to have a good day. And it's important, that they start setting intentions.
Right.
And, when we started our preschool back in 2010, I had a student. He was about 3 years old. And he was very severe on the autism spectrum scale. And the only thing that I could use to calm him down and get him settled every morning, I tried everything, was tapping.
Of course, that is part of the training. Holding the forehead, and actually just
tapping.
Yeah.
And it's
sorry, she's not autistic.
No, but it's actually one of the reasons why to connect with your ancestors, you will wear like a headdress. It actually assists with the. Pardon?
Is that a crystal as well?
No, not this one.
Okay.
I have some that are crystals, but this one isn't. This one has amber in it, which is actually a very Caribbean stone.
Yes, ma'am.
And
the crystals.
Right. And then it as I walk through the day, it actually taps my center right there, my meridian right there.
For you.
Yeah.
The third eye.
Yeah. It taps it for me. So it's like there's like this constant connect as I'm walking through the rhythm of the day, and it's something that our ancestors used to do a lot. It's really nice that you're connecting that into your school schedule.
It's interesting that we're talking about this whole tapping and connecting, because I'm going to share a little bit of what has been happening with me. So, I mean, of course, being sent home and working from home, you get miserably, you find yourself in a funk. And the only thing that has been able to take me out of my personal funk is by going outside in my garden. So I have planted my garden again. I neglected my garden and my yard for such a long time. And I have been back in there for the past 9 weeks. I've been planting, I've been looking.
Beautiful. And see the growth.
And not only that, but just going outside without my shoes on and grounding myself and connecting. Yeah. And I live in a complex with quite a number of children, some of them who come to my school, and we have been experimenting. So I have them, nobody wears shoes outside, and the energy, just the whole vibe, it has changed so much.
That your feet
there are happy enzymes in dirt. And so when you connect with the ground, that's just one of the many things that it actually offers you by being barefoot in the ground.
And also your feet has
meridian points.
Different meridian points, which controls the rest of the body. So that's really quite good. And three, we have at the Taino Park what you call a barefoot spot. So you walk along a path to the spa area, where, and then you have river stone on the river stones, and then you have the. Do you know that stones carry an amazing amount of energy?
I know.
Fast
So
energy,
I
and
have to tell you
amazing.
something. Let me see if I have one around. So one, I'm big into crystals and stones. I wear them. I took them off because I went in the shower right before and I cleaned myself. But I wear stones every day for different things. I have tons of different stones. But
I'm glad you cleaned yourself before you came online.
Yes. But let me tell you something. I have been doing something since maybe last summer. We launched it at Kingston Night Market. We have been doing this thing where we get the rocks, lovely, wonderful feeling rocks that we connect with, and we write affirmations on them. And we call it affirmation rocks. And it's an affirmation in and of itself. But when you connect with those rocks, and when you give kids rocks, just connect
I'm telling you.
Energy is completely different.
Telling you.
You know, we have a video on it on YouTube too, you know, because I can't explain to you what, and I tried to explain it to a couple of parents and they're like, huh, your head's gone. I'm like, it's been gone, right? But I do know, and it's logical, rocks come from the earth.
Right. And it takes millions of years to actually form those rocks. Can you imagine what they've gone through, and the energy that because, as I say, in the spa, we actually sit on a rock to put your feet in a pool made out of stone, out of stones, and then the water comes from the river, pumice, which is an absolute, and you feel that as somebody as soon as people sit on the rock to put their feet in, immerse their feet into the water, so you suddenly see a sudden change in their posture, how they rise, because it's an energy that's coming from water up through your legs into your meridian and through the stones, and it's an absolute. So I totally know what you're saying about how the children's connect with these stones. Absolutely,
that's something that I really believe now is the time to keep pushing, and it's something that I have rediscovered during this time. And of course, as I've rediscovered it, I have just said, you know, maybe it's just time to just start doing things differently. And maybe it's time for this reconnection and this reset.
Yes, definitely. You know? It's a reset. We're going through a reset. We really are going through a reset.
As challenging as it has been, because it has been a most certainly challenging time, it is the perfect opportunity for us to recreate and just get back in tune with that which is and that which has always been. You know, I know a lot of people will look at us and say, well, we're definitely crazy. What kind of stuff?
No, definitely not.
I think it's also given them that space. They've given them that space for those people that were critical, because they were always on what you call the mind rush. They wouldn't be able to stop. So they had to slow down. Now they're reassessing. We're not the only ones that are reassessing. I had one father that said he didn't even know he had a son in the house. He
described it as he didn't know he had a 3-year-old because he came home from work and his son had already gone to bed. He woke up in the morning just to get out of the work to get to work. He didn't know his kid. Yet.
So when he said he didn't know he had a son, basically
he didn't interact with him. There was no connection.
That's right. That's right. So,
but you know what's also interesting now? It's that on the days when I don't get a chance to go outside, my body literally yearns. It's like my body
begs for it.
Take off your shoes. You have to go in the grass. You have to go in the grass. You have to go in the grass.
Right? She's saying that too.
That is the BK so much.
Have to be there.
The days that we don't get, because we still have to go to the Taino camp to maintain the property, and I'm sure it's the same for you. On the days that the BK doesn't get to go, yearning for that outside energy
and the oxygen also. It's a different
trees, absolutely. You know, this morning, I mean, on a Saturday morning, I go and I exercise. I have a small group and we work out, and there was this amazing coconut tree and it was lovely. It's bent and slanted. Well, you know, I was just like lying on the coconut tree. They're like, what are you doing? I said, you know, they say you must hug coconut trees and palm trees, you know, and I'm embracing this tree. They're like, you want to climb it? I said, no, don't want to climb it. I just want to hug it.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Right?
That's
And
beautiful.
you know, it just felt so
That's
good. You're just like,
beautiful. And you talk to them too.
But
They
yeah,
feel they feel it's a vibration. We are a vibration. Our whole body is a vibration.
exactly.
So people might say, "Are you talking to?" I'll say to some of the staff, "Don't take the cutlass and chop the tree." They feel, "Oh, Mr. Tree can't feel," but basically,
everything on
it's
the
the
planet
vibration
that was
Yeah,
created
right.
is alive, and once it's alive, it's feeding your body, it's transferring to you. But just the fact that it's on the planet means that it's a part of that connective circle that we all vibrate on it. And
It's
the
vibration.
energy is shared from one to another to another to another.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this don't quote me on this, but this is my personal thing, is that we don't have 5 senses, we have one, which is vibration. We see through vibrations, we hear through vibrations, we taste through vibrations, we smell through. So all of those come under
and our
one
spirit feels
cover
through vibration.
So where you have the senses, it just sends off. So all of those is vibration. And so that's my personal. That's not something that is
I like that. I think I could believe that.
Right. It's vibrations. You see. And so sometimes you might get up and you feel, oh, I don't feel quite the tapping. You see what I'm saying? So as a certain amount of control, the vibrations,
rhythm, to get into the rhythm of nature and put yourself back in that, back in line.
Built in. It's all So, and for those who probably can't use all of so-called senses as you know, some sort of genius has put together to say that we have 5 senses. We have you've got the you can use the vibrations. Some people that can't see, you vibrate and they know that. So do you see what I'm saying? You vibrate and they know.
Absolutely. That third eye opens up, you know?
That's right. It does.
For sure.
It's so nice speaking to you.
Yeah, it's been lovely speaking to you. It's
the next
lovely,
time
lovely
the school comes down to the camp, you're going to have to...
I will have to come.
Yeah.
For sure.
We like that energy. We like that energy, and we'd love to be able to, because every time somebody comes to the park, they leave a part of themselves, and that's what, you know, I give thanks for. You know, a part of and somebody with as strong energy as you have, I would dearly love to have some of that energy there.
Well, it's all about the exchange. So for that, we're thankful, and for that, we're grateful. But I will be at the park. Don't worry.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it.
I am looking forward to that too. So, you know, it's going to be a staple field trip. It's a staple.
Yeah, we connect, like all of the children, the teachers, we connected on a really deep level when you guys came down this year. It was really
good.
Beautiful.
I saw the pictures and I saw the videos, and the children had a great time. Like, a wonderful time.
That's our intention.
It's the best way to learn. Like you said, and it's an extension. So you guys are teaching the children in a certain fashion, and then coming to the Taino camp, it was an extension of those platforms, and it's really nice.
They loved it.
I mean, the Taino camp is the only one of its kind apparently in the Caribbean, because with all our stakeholders that we have in different parts of the Caribbean, they've said that there are Taino parks, but not anything as exclusive. When I say exclusive as ours, is that we actually out there for the people, and not as a tourist place, but as a platform to disseminate information about our heritage and to rejuvenate it in order to.
So I know you have a collaboration coming up with the national museums, but it would be good, and I'm on that board. But it would be good to maintain that sort of connection with the national museums and also the institute, just to sort of preserve the history.
We with the Institute of Jamaica, IOJ, we have a connection there. We are actually doing a
5-year partnership. This is our 5th year doing Taino Day.
So we do Taino Days for them at you know, sort of different at their locations. So that we do have that connection.
Okay, good.
And it's an ongoing thing.
That's good.
So I'm going to say goodbye and leave you with Jenna. And see where it goes.
And I'm going to say goodbye and leave you with Rachel.
It was good speaking with you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, it was a really beautiful conversation, and I'm really looking forward to having you come down to the park. We're going to be having a freedom celebration when everything opens back up again. So we'll be sure to extend an invitation, yeah, to you and the teachers. It'll be great. We'll be having like poetry, spoken word. If the rains continue, some like river trekking, the foot spas, chocolate tea, and oh my God, my favorite, which is the hella top, hella bottom, hallelujah in the middle.
Yes, hallelujah in the middle. Yes.
Love it. Yeah, man.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
Yeah, so we'll be sure to invite you. And it was wonderful to have you, Rachel. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I know this conversation should have happened a week ago, but I'm grateful that it has happened, and it happened how it did. So nothing before its time.
Nothing before its time, for sure. So guys, I just like to let you know you can subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking on the button below, and you can follow us at Taino Heritage Camp on YouTube, all of the social media platforms, Instagram and Facebook, and the same thing for Rachel as well, which is learn the fun.
First of all, Taino Heritage Camp, let me follow you, subscribe, perfect, awesome.
Wonderful.
So on YouTube, we are Fundaciones on YouTube, but on all our social media platforms, we are Learn the Fun.
Okay, wonderful. And I'm going to put the link for that below in the description as well. All right.
Thank you so much.
And enjoy the rest of your Saturday. And I'm sure we'll be talking again, exchanging crystals, because
we will.
Definitely, yes. For sure.
Yes, for
all
sure.
right. One love, Rachel. Take care.
I'm right back at you. Thank you so much. Bye.